Well, I've been off late teaching my daughter Gracie to cycle. Well, Gracie is just about 6 years and have not really taken off on her own without the support of the side wheels. But she has been complaining to me about the side support wheels slowing her down. She certainly wants to go full speed and catch up with her brother who's cycling on the road and of course other children on the street as well. In fact, these days I have to run with her to keep pace with her. Even with her side wheels, she is trying her best to go as fast as she could. Now what Gracie is asking for really is for freedom. Freedom from her side wheels. For her, the side wheels are hindering her passion from soaring high. But for me, it is the side wheels that protect her from abusing her freedom at this moment and at this age. As a parent, I must ensure Gracie has become capable of using her freedom and using it right without being a potential danger to others, that she doesn't knock down another child on the road or even go on and bang on an expensive car that's parked on the road. Good Lord, can you imagine shelling money to repair someone else's Mercedes or BMW that's parked by the roadside? So to the question, are we really free? Absolutely is the answer. But can we be trusted enough to use it responsibly? Is a question we all have to answer ourselves. Well, the Mirror ran an article titled Secret Diaries of Narsi Dr. Joseph Mengele, offering a glimpse into his twisted mind. Now, Joseph Mengele, nicknamed as the Angel of Death, was the head doctor at Auschwitz under the Nazis regime. The cruelty inflicted upon children is indeed stomach-churning. He is said to be directly responsible for the deaths of thousands of people at the camp, and many of them happened to be children. He was experimenting with genetics in order to create a race that was superior. He once ordered his assistant to round up 14 pairs of gypsy twins during the night and place them on a polished marble dissection table and put them to sleep, and proceeded to injecting them with chloroform in their hearts, killing them instantly. Mengele then began dissecting them and meticulously noting each and every piece of the twin bodies. The Mail Online recently published an article titled Narsi's Photo Album Made from Human Skin. Now, when the buyer bought the album, he noticed human hair and bad smell, and he handed it back to the museum experts. And when the museum experts analyzed the album's cover and the binding, this is what they had to say. They realized that this was made out of a skin that came out from the inmate murdered at the Nazi concentration camp in Buchenwald in Germany. Well, you probably have read about Elsie Cook. Elsie Cook, nicknamed as the Witch of Buchenwald, was the wife of the commander at this particular concentration camp. She is said to have had male prisoners with interesting tattoos murdered, and then she would have their skins turned into interior designs. Her interest included lampshades, books and albums, table covers and thumbs that were used as light switches for decorations in her own houses, and she sent it out to others who liked it as well. And you perhaps have come to know about this man called as Viktor Frankl, the man who spent 3 years surviving the concentration camp at Auschwitz. In his book, The Man's Search for Meaning, he writes, after all, man is that being who invented the gas chambers of Auschwitz, and man is also that being who entered those gas chambers. Can I retake that one more time? He said, man is the one who invented the gas chambers, and man is also that being who entered those gas chambers. After all, these gas chambers were but a testament to the use of absolute freedom, freedom without restraint when they. And you know this, that the atrocities that are committed against human beings cannot be confined just to a particular country when it is indeed a global phenomenon all around us. Absolute power corrupts, doesn't it? So does absolute freedom corrupt as well. Well, Victor goes on to write in his book that freedom, however, is not the last word. Freedom is only part of the story and half of the story. In fact, he says freedom is in danger of degeneration into an arbitration until it is lived in terms of responsibilities. And that's why he proposes, I recommend the Statue of Liberty on the East Coast to be supplemented by a Statue of Responsibility on the West Coast. Yes, freedom is absolutely important, but absolute freedom is degenerating until it is coupled with responsibility. But then the good question to ask is, who can call us to responsibility and who can call us to accountability? If man is the measure, then the question is, which man would be the measure? Did you know the Nazis didn't even think themselves that what they were doing was evil? The Nazis, in fact, thought that they were in the process of doing good by creating a superior race. The answer certainly in that instance has to come from outside, because all of us, as Gabriel Marcel would say, are part of the problem. Well, an expert in the law approached Jesus, considering the fact that he was God's very son, and perhaps he would have an answer. He asked him, what is the greatest of the law? You see, we've been following 600 plus laws given by Moses, and then the 10 commandments too. And Jesus' response is very interesting. He says, love the Lord your God and love your neighbor. Well, going by the question, Jesus was asked, which is the greatest law? So by definition, the greatest has to be one, but Jesus does not give him just one, he gives him two. Love the Lord and love your neighbor. Now you might wonder why. Why did Jesus give him two when he asked for one? And that is because loving your God is the most easiest. If I fulfill my religious duties and pay my dues and visit the places of worship, can anyone argue that I don't love God? Jesus, in fact, makes it very, very difficult. He says only when you love your neighbor as yourself is when you actually have loved God also. What does that mean? It is the second commandment to love your neighbor that verifies and protects the first commandment, that is your love towards God. If you cannot love your brother whom you can see with your eyes, how will you even love God whom you cannot see? Now please understand, my neighbor doesn't have to be the one from my race or my belief or my community or my class or even from my caste. It can be any other human being. And just as much as I love myself, I'm asked to love my neighbor too. Difficult, isn't it? Yes, I would think it is indeed very, very difficult unless you learn to love the one for whom all are imago Dei, that means made in the image of God. Well, till the lockdown, my schedule involved a lot of travel. Now, since March, we all are sitting at home. But whenever I traveled and when the food was served on the flight, I made a conscious decision to ask my fellow passenger if she or he was a vegetarian or a non-vegetarian. And the other person would often become surprised and would ask me back the reason for my inquiry. And I would gently say, because I want to be mindful of your preference and would not mind taking a vegetarian food just in case you are one. Now, this one act of being other-centered, you won't believe me, has led to a long conversation with many people through the rest of the flight. But why not? Yes, I had the freedom to eat a non-vegetarian food. Who can stop me from it? But for the sake of my brother, my sister, my co-passenger, I would not use my freedom, but in love, give up the use of my freedom, than rather use my freedom to build friendship. My friends, yes, it is one thing to be free, but it is another thing to use our freedom with responsibility. So can I ask you a question today? Are you using your freedom to build lives or destroy lives? Are you using your freedom to give lives or take lives? Are you using your freedom to create harmony rather than creating disharmony? Yes, we are all free, absolutely free, there's no doubt about it. But absolute freedom would become degenerating until it is used with responsibility. So even as I teach Gracie, my little girl, to cycle responsibly without damaging the cars parked there or injuring people around her, can we all learn to use our freedom responsibly to build a society, to build a community, and to build a nation where there is indeed unity in diversity.